if you're on social media, they like you to create profiles, right? You're supposed to tell people before they even engage with you, tell us something about yourself. And if you ever have, would you like to fill this out? It'll say relationship status. And I see a lot of people just say, in a relationship. Okay. Means you're taken. What if there was an option for life relationship? Well, isn't that called marriage? It is for most people, but not everybody. Still, finding a relationship that's lifelong lasting is what a lot of people do aspire to. Why is it so hard for some people to get that part of it done? They connect with another, but it's not a lasting connection. Well, you know who we're bringing in for this is the good Dr. John Braccio, PhD with Regional Psychological Services of East Lansing. Dr. John B., as in Braccio.com, place for all the podcasts. He's been in a lifelong relationship, well, at least most of his life, with his better half, and he's on the other end of our line right now. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Well, good morning to you, Dave. And I must say, from someone who was involved for many years with the pre-Cana marriage preparation program for the Diocese of Lansing, and currently still work with many persons prior to and after marriage, it still continues to surprise me how many people do not actively analyze the relationships they're in and are planning to spend a lifetime really without answering questions like the following. And if it's okay, I'd like to mention a few of these questions that I think would be worth answering. Will each of you help the other person become a better human being? Do either of you have secret plans to try to make major changes in the other person? Are you able to share decision-making and power in a fair manner? Are each of you the best friend of the other? Do each of you think in terms of us or in terms of I? Are each of you comfortable sharing passwords for social media and financial accounts? Do each of you have a realistic understanding of the positive and negative traits of the other? Do you see potential marital area problems relating to financial decisions, philandering, team player attitudes, parenting, etc.? Do each of you share common values pertaining to religion, politics, child rearing, and general views of living together as a monogamous couple? Are each of you able to disagree in a civil manner and work together to resolve problems as well as agreeing to mutual areas of disagreement? As each of you lives your life, okay, I guess the question is, are you willing to sacrifice for the other when taking into account needs and desires of the other? Are you both sexually compatible? And I think quite importantly, do close friends and family members believe the two of you will make a good lifelong relationship? So these are really, to me, key questions to be able to answer.
And there are a lot of them there. But those aren't, and it's interesting because you started by mentioning pre-Cana. And, with the pre-Cana, I went through that. But interestingly, we did it, Doc, after we were legally married, because when we got married, my wife was not Catholic and really didn't have any intention at that point of converting, and said, is that a problem? We get married, can we? And I said, no, well, I want to get married, so no, I'm not going to balk at that. So later, when she converted, we got married in the church, we took that, pretty long survey again. And I said, what's the point of this? We're already married. And yet, there were interesting things in there that we still found out about one another, which I thought was kind of funny, but also how many we checked off. And I said, these are good because we're in alignment on all these various things. And that's important for people to be, because that at least gives you a foundation, a leg up. It's not a guarantee, but it gives you a leg up on a longer relationship.
Well, I think that is really true, Dave. And I think another thing, too, here, anyone you talk to that has been in relationships, and almost everybody has as they're leading a life, you can learn something from them. And an example that I like to give is one time when I was going over to St. Thomas in East Lansing to be part of the pre-Cana, a person I was talking to made a comment after she found out where I was going, and she said, you ought to have them answer these two questions. I said, oh, okay, well, what are they? Would you want that person to help raise your children? And would you want a child like that? She said, I remember thinking to myself, well, it's really kind of good advice. On the other hand, it taught me that, and that person was married various times, I might add, that everybody can give you some advice, and those are some good questions. Do you really if
They
you're
are.
going to kindly have children, do you really want this person to really be with you? I mean, if this person is fun, exciting, clever, witty, and all kinds of things, but not always responsible or a little off the track. I mean, you have to ask yourself, do you want that person? Is this what you're looking for? But again, with areas like religion, like politics, like concepts of friendship, concepts of we versus I, these are really critical things that it's amazing how many people that marry or spend a lifetime together, plan to, find they never really checked into these things. They thought, well, they'll just work out. Or one of the worst ones, I'm going to change that person once we get together. And well, those things happen. I hear it all the time. I thought he or she would change. Well, that's really not what you do. People can merge, they can change, they can work together. But it's kind of like getting a key-ready house. I mean, what you really want to do is try to get someone who you're really compatible with, and the two of you can rush off and not be part of the nearly 50% of divorce. So to me, these are critical things. Another thing I find very interesting, seems so basic, people that have failures in relationships often did not listen to good friends that loved and cared for them, or good family members who were sincere and honest, trying to give them some heads up. And then I've run into situations where persons will make the comment after a divorce or a bad relationship, I wish people would advise me. And then the people will say, well, we didn't want to interfere, didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. So really, when you really think of it, there really are a lot of questions you have to ask and you have to be willing to sort through before you go into a lifelong relationship. It's really quite a commitment, and often with children, that you want to make sure.
But Doc, isn't that last one a tough one even for family to broach? I mean, when somebody says, "Oh, I'm with so and so, I think we're going to get married. Boy, I'm just head over heels. This is the one," and you're going to yourself, "Boy, this is not the one. How do I say that? How do I do?" Because people who are in a relationship get very defensive. Now suddenly you're saying, "I've got bad taste. My eyes are covered. I'm not seeing the forest for the trees. I'm not being smart here." How do you broach that with somebody, or do you just lay it out on the line? You're making a huge mistake. Don't do it.
Well, I think obviously it depends on the relationships that let's say it's a parent or a sibling has with the person. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's important. I think second of all, I mean, if you're dealing with someone who's a physical abuser, drug abuser, a non-worker, I mean, there's certain times I think you could be more direct, because you don't want to be saying something that could lead to a real breakdown over a lifetime with that person. If you come out too strong and then the relationship works, then all of a sudden you could end up being the bad guy, and somebody's vengeance and anger might last a lifetime. So I think you have to be tactful. Yeah. On the other hand, if someone asks you and you talk about it, because I think a reasonable thing, if you meet somebody, you do want at least, I won't say complete approval, but you do want people you love and care for, family members, friends, to have some input. Like, what do you think? And really, if you really think about it, if a relationship is good, people are going to say good things. I can say, honestly, when I met my wife, and we've been together, married for almost 47 years, clearly people really were quite impressed with her. She's she's Catholic, came from Cuba, very much appreciates the country, everything in it, the people here. It really has she's a very positive kind of a person. And then wonderful family. So when you meet someone like that, and to my parents, the Catholicism, my dad said, "You're not Italian, but you're close." Okay, this type thing. My wife says, "Is that a compliment?" He says, "Well," I laughed. I was telling her, I says, "Yeah, it is. We might have preferred that you were a good Italian, but being a good Cuban was pretty close overall."
Close enough,
in a good, fun way. But again, I think there was a lot of reinforcement I got from other people. I knew her family. I knew her friends. She knew my family, knew my friends. So I'm not saying that's the model for everybody, but I'm saying that tends to be one where you're kind of working together. There's an agreement. People can sort things out. It's when there's not agreement, there's disagreement, that often there is something wrong that the person really doesn't see. Because you mentioned the word head over heels. Well, that type of thing. There's nothing wrong with falling in love, but you have to make sure that you're really looking into the long-term relationship, because marriage really is like a garden. It requires work. It requires constant work. It requires sacrifice. It requires sharing. It requires functioning as a we, not as an I. It requires common moral values, common spiritual values, however they might be, a common outlook and a common lifelong goals. There are goals that you're working at, and you're doing this as a team. They can change. You want to have an environment where things can change in a way that's not going to destroy the relationship, but ways that they can change in a good way and make for even a more helpful, useful, tantalizing, loving, caring road, if you will, through life. Meaning, as you live it, you enjoy it, you run into the hurts and the strengths and the things that happen in life. But you absorb them, you work on them, you try to gain from them, and the overall goal is to lead as happy, successful, useful, caring, loving type of a life as you can as a couple. If you have children or friends, family, merge together into a positive life relationship all the way around. I'm kind of bullish on this whole concept, Dave.
You should be. It's got some time-tested values built and baked into the cake. So that's a real positive about it overall. The relationship here, we always get asked relationship status in a relationship. Is it a relationship for life? And some important questions that people must ask of themselves and of their partner. Questions that, if answered and with the right answers, can build that solid foundation for maybe like we say, a lifelong relationship and happiness. The good doctor is Dr. John Braccio, Ph.D., Regional Psychological Services from East Lansing. And the podcast will be, as they all are, at drjohnb.com. Great to talk to you again, Doc. Congratulations on all those years. You're closing in on 50. You're closing in.
Well, that is true, David. I know you have many years together with your wonderful bride. So let us try to enjoy ourselves in terms of our relationship.
Right. In my case, where the better half really does define as the better half. Great to talk to you today. Yep. I
will accept that, and that's how we move forward even more successfully. So have a good day, my friend.
You
Bye-bye.
too. We're coming back on the morning wake up. This is good advice there all the way around. He laid down today. 1320 WILS.